Hello, welcome one and all. It's Tuesday night and it's time for the oNiD Community Racing Assetto Corsa Indycar Championship. Welcome to everyone watching on Twitch. Hope everyone is well this evening as we go oval racing for the one and only time this season, round 4 for these guys in the Indycars. And we're only turning left. Oval racing to follow this evening with qualifying now underway. Cars out on the circuit looking to set the best time they can in a very tight and competitive field. Sub 20-second laps we've seen in practice. We'll see if that can be exceeded at all in the slightest. Welcome and good evening. My name's Aidan Howard, bringing you all the action alone in the comms booth this evening, all by myself. Thank you, Ben. You got to hear me sing. I'm not sure if that's a curse or not. It probably is a curse. But we are away for qualifying. Cars are out on the circuit. With the pros, I believe, or the AMs. I can't remember which one. The pro-AMs go first. A class of car going first for the first 10 minutes, and then once again, oh, that's car going. Oh, dear Lord. That's not how you take that corner. As that's Pavo going off in a very wacky way. Everyone going out in the pro class as it stands with corner single. Thank you, Ben. I do appreciate that. The pro cars out on circuit and looking to set the best lap time. We're saying all pro drivers set sub 20-second lap times as well. Really seeing that as we follow Karolzak around about to start a lap. Even at the minute, the quickest 19.854, and Karolzak currently quickest 19.448. Don't be fooled, folks. I know they're only turning left, but the races will be actually quite immense tonight, especially with our live race control standing by for live safety cars, rolling starts, and yellow flags. With Johan Karolzak setting the times, it says Contu just about getting up into P4. Times only separated by the best part of points of a second, 0.1, 0.2 of a second between the top three, as we see Conti on a personal best going through the first half of the sector. The second half of the lap comes to the line, and it's good enough for P2. Immediately pipped, however, Alfred Beaven following very closely behind. I do wonder if there was a sense of slipstream. Tom Watts, Ben is here with violence, and good evening to you as well, Tom. Thank you very much for joining us. 3 minutes down for the qualifying, and Beaven goes for another lap. Can't improve. 19.595 is his best. Just a smidge off Karolzak's best time. In the background, Canadian trying to set another lap. Comes to the line. Don't think it's going to improve. Note stays put with 20.081. Best lap 19.9. We'll be looking to improve, but not by doing that. Is he? Oh, that's going to cause an issue with the race. They go to the wall like that again, and that's going to force him back to the pits. The wonders of sim racing. The glitches every now and again, but that was interesting, going through a bit of a wall there. Scotty finally getting time on the board, first time around 20.397. Brushes the wall for good measure. It's not going to help them should I say, as you go for another lap. Karolzak on outlap as well. Pavo not improving either in fourth as it stands. He's going to go through the final turn and will not improve on lap, I don't think. 20.209 is not going to be an improvement on its 19.838. However, it's personal best as he goes on to another lap. Zach Silver not too far off either. It's on his lap, only 0.1 down on Karolzak's best time. This actually might see him improve up into the top 3. He comes to the line. It is the top 3, 19.655, promptly followed by Pavo, 19.679. There's a car upside down. What in the world was that? That was Neil having a definite adventure there and electing then to return to the pits. Only car's not yet set a lap is Jacob Hine. Jacob Hine all the way down in 19th, electing not yet to go to the circuit. He has a quarter of an hour to go try and set a lap time, but for now is staying put. Kankos gets up Anton into P9. Good lap there, good improvement, 20.651. Let's keep an eye on the timing board just to see who can and who looks to be improving, and that is Negev popping up to 11th, 20.696, and calls it down as Bennett gets into 7th position. Axel up there with a 19.9. Personal best first sector, well, I say sector, first turn, as he then goes through the final turn here. Looks to be setting a personal best. Improve, it will be an improvement up to P6. Pips Kanoji up into 6th position. Pavot gets over 19.598. Alfie Beaven, let's not forget, 19.5 as well. And those two are currently inseparable as Pavot pulls off and returns to the pits. 3,000th, how inseparable is that between second and third? 0.595 to a 0.598 is the asking time for between those two drivers. Kawasaki is on another lap, not improving on this time around. He'll go for it, he'll go again. 19.4 is his best. He's got traffic up ahead of him, and that traffic's going to try and stay out of the way as best they can. Indeed they do. Down by 3/100ths of a second, should I say. Will that be an improvement as he comes around the final turn? No, it isn't, not yet. Still got the rest of the turn to go. Does he find any additional time? He does at 19.533. Unable to beat that time and plows it into the wall just for good measure. Pavot, not quite on an improvement. Still 598. That was a 629 he did for that lap, so he'll await to see what he can do. Angela Scotty, however, personal best in P10. This may see him up into the top 5 as they come to the line. Oh, only one position gain, but crucially into the 19 seconds. Well into 90 seconds now. Well, I say well into. 0.050 was definitely classified as well into the time of 19 seconds. Personal best, however, goes for another lap. Bennett also improving to P6, and keep an eye on him. Scotty gets up to 7th. What can Axel do? Still on the personal best as he comes to the line, and it is a improvement. Not in position, however, in time. Oh, that's a car upside down. That's collected. Bennett, that's not good to see. Oh, dear Lord. Well, the safety car will be out if something like that happens again. But for now, qualifying is just allowing the drivers to get stuck in and be undisturbed as much as they can to try and set a fast lap. Carol's trying to beat that 19.4. Can't do it. Struggling to get back below the 19.5s again. But we'll go for another lap, and backs off to try and find a bit of a gap, and I have a feeling, well, he does want to pull off, he does pull off, and goes into pits in a very unorthodox way. Silver not too far off pole position, 0.075 down, and it is a mighty quick lap. 5.559, as Beaver does a 5.95. I think Pavo's still in his 5.98. He is. Second, third and fourth split by 0.05. Not even that of a second. 0.04 of a second, should I say. Conti and Bennett only 2,000, so 0.002 between each other. Between them and 5th and 6th, as Conti is going for another crack at another lap. Might be this one. Tell you what, let's have a bit of fun and jump on board as he goes on to his flying lap. That's nice and tidy. Conti is down, however. We'll be looking to potentially get a little bit more time as he goes up through the next couple of corners. And it doesn't improve. We'll go again. Oh, that's not going to help his cause either. He clouts the wall, and he will promptly return back to the pit lane. No improvement there, unfortunately, on this occasion. Right, what are the top guys doing? Kawasak's just starting another run. Let's see what they can do. Goes for a start finish line. Has a bit of a tow from a car ahead. Not helping him, however. 0.1 of a second down on his best lap time, which is still pole position as it stands. It looks like the downforce, or the slipstream, should I say, not necessarily helping him. As the car up ahead of him goes off. That was Bennett having a moment into the wall, and then quickly returns to the pit lane. There's a couple of cars spinning off on the apron. Cows that can't improve. We'll go again. The first sector It's not far off, and we're talking about below 0.1 of a second. It's very close to improving. Can't improve. Will stay in P1. Doesn't improve. 19.448. Promptly returned to the pits, knowing that he wasn't going to improve. It's all down to those behind him to try and improve. I could tell you everyone out, apart from Jacob Hine, who is still unfortunately in the pit lane. 9.5 minutes to go for qualifying for round 4 here at the oval of Phoenix Raceway. And time will tell to see who takes the pole position. Still up for grabs, and as you see, Neil get to P5, 19.730, should I say, immediately pipped by Axel Bennett, 19.715. However, Neil on a personal best in this lap, so he may see a further improvement, but he decides to pull off and bin that lap and returns to the pits. We'll hopefully see him back out, I'm sure, to make another challenge. Bevan clouting the wall as they go through turn 1, not improving. Lap times looking quite competitive, as we said, a very tight field between everyone, especially through 1 to 4, position 1 to 4th. 5th and 6th are quite inseparable. Contu as Alfie clouts the wall, trying to find as much time as he can, but then send the car spinning out, and we'll have to go back into the pits, I am sure, as Karolzak, for some reason, unfortunately, has left service. So we'll keep an eye on Karolzak. Hopefully they will rejoin and join us in due course. Conti, not a personal best, but looks mighty close, but losing time as he goes through the final turn. As we do have, that's Karolzak, apologies, rocking back up into the top spot. And hi, my message redeemed by Ben Myatt. This week's fun fact from the briefing doc: the densest material at standard temperature and pressure on Earth is the naturally occurring element osmism. The second, oh, for God's sake. That is unacceptable admin behaviour, Benjamin. As 7.5 minutes ago, no one really been able to challenge the pole position time of Karolzak, 19.448. We've seen a couple of drivers get close, and one getting close is Zach Silver as well to the wall. A bit too close. As he returns back to the pits, Bevan now going for an outlap P3 currently. That's a car ahead of him, bit of slipstream might help him here. As he go on board, clips the grass to the inside, goes up wide. I don't think that's going to help his cause. And he's already 0.2 of a second down as he clips the wall again, trying to find every eke of time he can try and find. Not really working for him. He will try and go for another lap, and we'll have a car ahead of him. Has to lift and gets maybe a little bit compromised, and we'll clip the wall. I sincerely hope that doesn't happen in the race as he returns back to the pits and goes for another crack at beating that pole position time. Karolzak still there, 19.448. Looks to be a little bit unbeatable at the minute. Cannot improve on the lap, nor can anyone else seem to challenge him. 6 minutes to go before we go racing for our one and only race this evening of 60 minutes, if I recall correctly. I should recall this correctly because I've been doing this for multiple weeks now. Anyway, as Karolzak comes to the line, does start another lap, won't improve as Bevan gets up into P2. Silver also improving. Times are tumbling, and it looks like Alfie's still looking to improve on his lap. These are minuscule gaps between the top 5. There's absolutely nothing between them. Alfie and 561. Not going to work. He's fast up at 19.542. But in quick succession, Silver with a 0.559 and Pavo a 598. All within 19 seconds. The top 9 within 19 seconds. Very close between tenths and lengths, actually. 20.259 and 0.292 respectively for both of those guys. And I'm just reading up my notes. I'm not sure if Ben in chat could correct me, but Jacob Hine not qualifying, so he may have a qualifying penalty, potentially. He'll be starting from the back of the grid. Would love to know if that's correct. As we see, no real improvement. We did what we were teased with the quickest or quicker lap time from Alfie Bevan, the man we're now following. Won't be improving on this lap with it being an out lap. He will start a flying lap now. And the gaps are very, very close. 0.475 for Alfie, the only other man to make it into the 19.4s, is mighty close to our pole position time. As it stands, Karolzak taking a very high line to the final turn. It's 0.448 versus 0.475. Mighty close, and Karolzak's going purple. Quickest man by 3 thousandths, goes to the next sector, maybe able to eke out a little bit more time as he goes through the final turn. Comes to the line, 19.491, not quite, loses out in the final sector, and will still have that pole position time for 4.48, but not looking, well, was about to look like about to improve, but wasn't doing so at that time. Silver can't improve. 5.59 is his best. The last one was a 6.19 in the 19 seconds range, as we are coming down to dying moments of qualifying. Not many further improvements as it stands. We await to see what will happen, but that P1 time looks a little bit, excuse me, a little bit unbeatable as it stands. Bevan getting mighty close in the first sector, actually, first turn. Oh! That was random. Clips the wall. And the game didn't like that. And it sends him out, darting down the oval onto the apron. Now, drivers will have to be careful of that when they get to the race. They don't want to be clipping the wall and suddenly have the car dart down onto the inside of the circuit. That one might be a bit of a calamitous consequence and of a safety car this evening. We shall wait and see. 2.5 minutes to go. We're just waiting for people to finish on out. Finney on an outlap, looking to try and improve. Not going to. He pulls off actually. Scotty having issues. Bevan finds stuff back in the pits. Was slightly, well, very close to the pole position time. Wasn't improving. The voice chat in oNiD, to the oNiD Discord server for the AC Championship, as car goes tumbling once more. That's a interesting sight, as I think our Silver probably returned to the pits, but no voice chat happening in the voice channel. Everyone's silent. Full concentration on the go. Benoit improving personal best as he ends up about to finish his lap. It's another car meeting the wall. Oh god, Jesus Christ. That is going to be interesting for the race. They're going to have to be careful of that wall, or all the walls around it. It seems like as soon as you brush them, you end up darting off the circuit. One thing the race control maybe have to be a bit mindful of. Phoenix Radio being a mod for Assetto Corsa, just like these cars as well. The Indycars being a paid mod you can purchase from I can't remember where we get them from. VRS, I can't quite remember actually. But being a paid mod, these guys are absolutely happy to bless these drivers. So sharing that community is still fully on strength with things regarding to AC. VRC, there we go. Thank you, Ben. VRC. I did say VRC. Formula North America, these Indy cars. Got to be careful with branding, haven't they, really? As Karolzak goes for another. Alfie bins it. Says, I can't improve on that one. Karolzak is going to try for another lap. Isn't improving here. It's only down by about 0.06 of a second. Silver lets it go out once more, and I think Alfie Bevan stays in the pits. He is. I think that's got his qualifying going to be done and dusted. He also did the models for the new Formula Legends game that launched last week. Yes, of course. Silver on a lap just starting, is not going to be able to improve by clipping the wall. He'll have one more shot at it as he comes round to start another lap. Bevan lets to try and quickly go out again. Not sure if he'll have enough time to get to the start-finish line. Or he might do just to start one more flying lap. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just. We'll now start another flying lap. Checker flag flies for all those drivers in the pits there. There's going to be some quick lap times coming up very quickly. Alfie's not improving. He's not going to be challenging for that pole position, unfortunately. Silver finishes with a 19.559. As we see everyone come out to line. That's not going to be enough, as that is qualifying done and dusted for everyone there on this fourth round here at Phoenix Raceway Oval. Your starting grid for this race, and my oh my, the times were tight. Karolzak will start this 227 lap race on pole position. Now, if we even second, Zach Silver third, Axel Bennett fourth, Pavo fifth, Ben Neal sixth. Now, bearing in mind, top six split by 0.157 of a second. Conti seventh, Scott eighth, Kanoji ninth, Kamkos in 10th. It will then be Zach Finney 11th, Ben Beans 12th, Alex with 30th, Nejev 14th, Oscar in 15th, and Jacob Hine will start in 16th position. I think I'm correct. Jacob Hine has a qualifying penalty, and that's why he didn't qualify, which isn't too bad for an oval race. He'll be starting at the back, but he'll get a bird's eye view of everything that happens ahead of him. And indeed, that will be wonderful for him, I am sure. I'm sure he may want to be a bit more further up the grid. But we now wait for all the cars to take to the circuit. And it will be everyone getting ready for a rolling start. As we do go back to the grid. Cars now on track. And we will see them. There'll be a brief countdown as everyone will just await the lights to go out. Safety cars will then take away the field. It is our wonderful Ben Myatt standing in for Rob this evening. Rob, hope you get better soon. The sniffles shall not defeat you as the cars get moving for this race start. Safety car leads them away for, I believe it's going to be two formation laps before we get racing. Once again, safety car live this evening as we see a car starting from the pits. I think that was Jacob Hine joining from the pit lane. We will see him rejoin the back of the grid, and they'll get back on with this field for the start of the race. 16 cars taking to the oval this evening, and we will very briefly be racing. I do believe how two flying that safety car does stay out for this one. We'll then get the field all nicely covered up in our two formation laps, so we'll see 225 laps of racing here, equivalent to about an hour. But that could be longer if the safety car is called upon for any racing incidents. Overstreet also offering assistance for the safety car this evening is in the pit lane, as we do see Ben Myatt now pulling off for the inside of the circuit, ready to go racing as Karolzak leads the field away, going down the back straight. There's a bit of a gap in the fourth and fifth row now. I'm sure that will then close up very quickly, but around the last corner they go. They will be under starters' orders. And it'll be Karolzak and Bevan on the front row, and we are going to go green now for round 4 here at Phoenix Raceway. Karolzak gets away well on the outside line, Bevan on the inside, side by side as they go, 2 by 2. Benoit Silva, Pavo and Neil in the background also fighting away for position. It looks like they're able to sort each other out as Pavo and Scott are now fighting away in the background. 3 wide in the background as there's a car going very deep, almost making contact. I think that was Contu electing to just take a bit of an interesting line. Actually, I stand corrected. It might have been Neil, and Silva now drops the position, goes wide through turn 1, and will now be under threat from the likes of Benoit, Pavo and Scott and Neil, as they're all squabbling for a position. A wobble there for Benoit's contact on the final turn into the wall. Multiple cars off. That is Scotty getting off into the wall, and that's Karolzak. Karolzak, the race leader, off the circuit into the wall, and that has called our first safety car of the evening. 3 laps. 3 laps worth of safety car. We'll see if they can get underway once more, as we'll then gather up the field for another race start for these guys to get racing once more. Ben Myatt's in the safety car this evening, as mentioned. Thank you very much, Ben. I miss you. It's lonely in this comms booth, Ben. But thank you very much for stepping in for covering for the mighty poorly Rob Racing Semenska. Racing Psycho, he's most oftenly called. Thank you very much. Do appreciate it, Ben. But it's lonely in here. Got to eat all the biscuits all myself. Lap 7. 220 to go, shall I say, of this round 4 Phoenix race. The only oval in this Assetto Corsa IndyCar Championship, with all the rest of them being circuits that typical circuits that these IndyCars do visit in a real life basis. Mugfish, evening. Hope everyone is well. Everyone, I'm sure, is very well. Thank you for joining us. Much appreciated to have your company. It's just myself in the comments booth here, so thank you for the chatter. It is lovely to have you here, even if it is for the algorithms, as we are in our first safety car period. No one would like to go to the pits. I don't blame it. It's quite early to do pit stops. We'll need to do a pit stop here for this race. As Stan Karate, Karolzak and Scott coming into the pits, so maybe getting a race, maybe pit stop early. There is a compulsory pit stop, but maybe just getting their compulsories out of the way. They will definitely have to pit again for tyres and fuel. It's way too soon to even consider getting to the end of the race on a 1 tank of fuel, as the field is now lined up. And now the safety car pulls back in. Bevan now leads the way. From Benot Pavo, Neil Knoji, Finny Kontu, Hein, Wood, Negev. Let's see who gets away well on this first restart of the evening. Bevan, under starter's orders, will now pull away. Bit of a tail wag of the rear as he puts the acceleration down, but gets away cleanly as it's a single file restart for this race. Bevan gets away well. Let's have a clean gap to Benot and Pavo in the background. Kankos is dropping down the order, sadly, who's had a bit of an issue. Maybe just slowing down on the corner, as we'll slot back in with Scott and also Beams trying to make up some positions. Beams actually losing one, and Oscar now about to be overtaken as well. As it's a slider, and that is Silver off on the inside. Is able to get going. The safety car's not being called. The session remains green, so allowing cars to keep on racing as we're side by side for 7th and 8th. Sack Finney trying to get past Hein, who then in turn was trying to get past Contu, which was mighty interesting to see there for a brief moment into turn 1. But for now, they sort themselves out as Nezhdev losing a position to Scotty, and then promptly getting overtaken by recovering Karolzak from the lap 3 incident. Looks like things have calmed down a little bit, and cars get into a rhythm, and now we just have to wait a little while just to see who's able to catch up with who. I can see that Beams is now trying to get past Negev for position, with Kankos in the background also trying to make amends as well. Now getting up quite close to Ben for position. There's another clout on the wall there for Negev. We'll see him drop a position as Kanoji is around, facing the wrong way at the entry of the final turn, and that's going to cause our second safety car period. A little bit of decent racing in there, car side by side. Didn't quite see how We ended up with a car facing the wrong way. Just missed that one, but may have been just a mistake from the driver themselves. Unfortunately, as annoying as it is, we can't get replays on AC. Be nice, but unfortunately we will have to await for the safety car to gather everyone up, and we take another breather just to see what's going to happen next. Cars now joining the back of the queue. Bit of a gap between Ben Asker and Wood, but that's going to close up with Silver also electing to go for the pits, as well as Kanoji. Damage is turned on, but these guys will be experiencing damage and effects of damage. Not that it's going to be visible, unfortunately, but having a clout with the wall and maybe having contact with other cars will give these cars damage. We just can't see it, unfortunately, but the drivers will certainly be feeling it through their driving rigs and other equipment. So, Kanoji Silver, pit lane, potentially for new tyres and fuel, and also potentially for damages as well. Kanoji in the pits longer than Zach Silver, and indeed is going to be, well, actually leaves the pits quite much later than he did Kanoji, and unfortunately Kanoji has disconnected. I'm hoping they'll rejoin, as they were the front runner here in qualifying. If they do rejoin, they will be a couple laps down, unfortunately. But if there are other safety car periods and they do rejoin with and to finish the race even a lap down, they may have the opportunity to unlap themselves in the future if there is another safety car period. Ben Myatt, as we said, driving a safety car this evening along with Chris Overstreet running the race control. Thank you to you both for your time. It's much appreciated, as Ben elects to pull in to the pit lane and allow Alfie Beaven to go again for another race start. As he slowly brings the grid around to restart number 2. In the background, Pavlo looking ready racing, trying to dart out of the line of traffic, but won't be able to make amends for that. In the background is Conti fighting with Hein and Karolzak. And Karolzak will remain side by side, or gets the move done on Zach Finney for position. In the background, Scott is trying to make a move up the inside of Zach Finney as well. Oh, gets a bit of a slide to Scotty. Saves it. And will continue. Silver and Ben Asker fighting away. Silver trying to make moves back up the field, and indeed does so, back up into 14th on the tail of Dave Wood for 13th position, and will be able to rejoin, I'm sure, the racing pack in due course. Nishev losing out position to Bees, but Silver in the background, as we just saw in the background, making a move around the outside, and that is up to 13th. As we now see everyone settle into the race, there's a better battle. Anton Kankos trying to get past Neshev for position, and indeed he does. Gets moved on the inside into the final turn, and will proceed with trying to claw his way back up the grid. Personal best laps come up. Scott Finney showing his personal best laps, which is always good to see. So they're slowly improving up the field and trying to get in front of the pack and get back to where they were. Ben Beans inside, final 10 of Zach Finney. But he goes a little bit deep, but so does Ben Beans, or gets a very shallow entry and compromises him on exit just about. Silver gets past Nishev in the background, and that's moved on for them, as Johan looking to try and get back past. No, it's not going to work. He goes a bit shallow and then deep into the first turn. That's compromised. So now Dave Wood is right on his tower, and that is Nishev going in for a pit stop. So for an early one, but pit stop nonetheless, gets it out of the way with. Maybe going in a bit of an alternate strategy to those around him. The leaders, however, it's Bevan Bennett, Pavo Neal, now Hein and Conti, as Hein makes a move on Conti for position. Karolzak in the background and looking to also try and get past as well, as we try and get a cheeky onboard shot, and that is move absolutely done. That's better. That's what I wanted. As Conti tries to thinks about making a move back past Karolzak, actually on the P1 tyre, the softer and quicker tyre, but will wear away quicker than the P2 tyres, as you can see in the timing tower. The majority of the field on the slower P2 tyre, but Pavo, Karolzak and Oscar as well, both all those on the faster, softer P1 tyre as it stands. So we'll expect those guys to maybe do a bit of ultimate pit strategy, pit a bit more sooner as those tyres begin to wear out quicker than the P2 runners. But they'll see the drivers on the P2 tyre will definitely try and extend their stints over what the others can do on that P1 tyre. Up in the lead is Bennett trying to keep clawing Bevan for position. It's a 0.1 of a second faster lap that Bennett was able to do, as unfortunately we've seen Vinny now disconnect from the server, and hopefully they will rejoin as in a very short time. Fastest lap for Karolzak as he makes his way up to 5th. It just popped up on the bottom of the screen, and we see Bennett trying, I stay trying, to catch Bevan here. So a bit of traffic here as well. That is a lapped car of Oscar, I do believe, as Bennett gets very close to Alfie in the final turn, but compromises himself, goes quite deep into the corner. Well, I say deep, it's quite shallow. As I think Axel, if you look at his steering wheel, does have damage. The wheel is right hand down. We will have suspension damage, which he is nursing relatively well, might I add, to be fair. These cars can be a bit of a nightmare if the steering isn't quite up to standard. But in the background, we'll see Karolzak chasing down Jamesy Pavo for position. P4 up the inside of turn 1. Can't quite make it work there. He goes on the slide. He's going to hit the wall. He does tap the wall. Has a spin. After trying to make the move up the inside of turn 1. Will be able to rejoin. But the safety car is scrambled for the third time. Damage isn't on. That's his setup. Oh my. How in the world has he done that? That's very weird. Definitely with the toe angles and everything that you can do in the Indycars, I do guess. They do have kind of canted steering, don't they? That is his setup. That's interesting. Bennett into the pits along with Come to, and Karolzak, of course, coming into the pits. Damage isn't on. Okay, that's fine. So these are just strategic pit stops from those going into the pits. We do see 3 cars in the pits. Unfortunately, Finney and Neja have not yet rejoined, which is a shame. They will absolutely hopefully rejoin the session if they are able to. So we would love to see them racing, even if it is a few laps down. We do encourage all of our drivers, if they are able to rejoin, that they do so and that they complete the full race. Also, Aces, good evening. I completely missed your message. Thank you for joining us. Mighty nice to have you in the stream this evening. As now we see Scott and Wood coming to the pits, as now everyone is being gathered up behind the safety car. Bevan now in position as that spin from Karolzak unfortunately brought out the safety car again, which we did have a decent amount of running there. It was quite nice to see. As we do have another couple of pit stops coming in, that is Silver and Camcos, both coming in for their pit stops, and will potentially change tyres. Karolzak, after his pit stop, goes into the P1 tyre, along with Ben Asker as well, who's done a pit stop as well, going on to the softer and faster tyre at this stage of the race. Now, cars are a lap down. There's Kanoji who's 3 laps down. All the cars have been instructed to move to the top side of the oval and allow the faster cars through on the inside line. We'll wait and see how many laps Kanoji is able to get back. I do believe we're only doing 1 lap per safety car period, so we'll be able to get back to being 2 laps down instead of the 3. Timing of tower should update that very, very shortly, as Kanoji does rejoin the back of the grid. Won't be able to get another lap until the next safety car period potentially, unless race control allows him to take another lap. I don't think they will on this safety car period. They will stay put. The Indian driver racing from India all the way around the other side of the world. Pleasure to have him, and it's good to see him back, one of our regulars for oNiD Community Racing, as Alfie and these are behind the safety car driven by Ben Myatt for this third. safety car period. Good amount of racing there. That was interesting to see the guys actually be able to fight away, and it was actually quite reassuring to see that that spin wasn't caused by contact, it wasn't caused by cars getting into each other, it was just because of a racing mistake and lack of downforce potential on that inside line, unstable to rear. However, Ben Myatt does pull off the circuit, will be under starter's orders for Alfie to once again restart the session. Everyone supposed to stay in single file, not quite doing it in the background of 4th, 5th and 6th, but I'm sure they will now reform, and indeed they do. And Alfie puts the foot down, lots of wheel spin as they get going, but in the background Ben Beams also making inroads as a good restart from him as he tries to make a move but gets caught high on the outside line, is somewhat compromised offline, and now is under threat from Contu in the background. Contu will have the outside line going into the turn. Kawasaki and Scott in the background also wanting to make inroads as they fight away. It's going on board with Scotty, who had a spin of their own, is recovering and makes a move on Kankos for position. Next one up is Karolzak. Karolzak gets mighty close to the wall. Scotty will have the inside. And that is move done. Yes, it is not quite. Karolzak holds the outside line. As we then go back to trackside. Scotty on the inside, not quite having enough overspeed. Excuse me. And Karolzak able to hold position. Sadly, now 3 cars having DNF. Kanoji, Finney and Reserve, as we said. Hopefully we'll steer them all back. Rejoining, as we know Kanoji, unfortunately, having internet connection issues as is somewhat unfortunately frequent for him, but nonetheless still here racing and giving it the best go as he can. Ben Neal. Oh, it's wheel to wheel with Bennett there for position. They may have made a bit of contact there, but they get going, still keep it going. They're still side by side. Can't decide who wants 5th or 4th position as the BAR liveried Indycar around is on the outside line, and Bennett gets the move done. But for a good couple of laps there, side by side, that was good racing from both, giving each other space. As Neil now tries to go around the outside, gets a bit more momentum, doesn't really work for him actually. It actually ends up losing time to Conti behind, who has a run. Will go to the outside line, tries to make it work around the outside. Ben gives some space, but will not be able to make the move. As we have a pitter in the green flag, Ben Oscar coming into the pits once more for another pit stop. He's going to lose a shed loads of time, but bearing in mind that everyone else around him will also have to pit. Karolzak and Conti fighting away. Karolzak gets a move done past Conti for P6 and will retain that position and try to start pulling away a little bit as the battle with Neil and Karolzak has seemed to come to an end. The gap is now 0.4 of a second, and they are now finding rhythm to try and get back into this race, and will no doubt try to maybe make use or try and extend their stint as much as they can on that harder tyre. But Ben has a moment going through the final turn, maybe a bit of a squiggle as he gets onto the exit. Will briefly defends on the inside line from Karolzak behind, but stays put, holds position, still making a move for 10th position past Kankos. Both on the P2 tyre, both of them also looking to try to extend their stints. I don't believe has actually come into the pits yet, as Ben Neal defends vigorously from Karolzak. For now, Karolzak staying the pit. So now Fitz trying to make a move down the outside. Not going to work there. You have to try and figure something else as a run through the final turn. Neal already goes defensive, but can't do anything now. Will have to come off the throttle a little bit. Compromise goes around the outside, does Karolzak. Back in the position, definitely the quicker driver here because of that tyre advantage he has. Remember, he's on the P1 softer tyre, where Neil ahead of him is on that P2 tyre. So tyre advantage will be in effect here, and it does look like he has more grip. And then Neil behind him, he's getting out the corners quicker and actually being able to catch quite quickly in the slipstream. Unfortunately, not making it work as up ahead is a lapped car now approaching Ben Neal as well. So he'll be looking to try and change or get past that lap car for position before, without compromising his fight with Kawasaki. However, Kawasaki still looking threatening, as we do see Kanoji rejoin. Good on you, sir. Thank you, Jatin, for rejoining. It is a pleasure to see you, and it is wonderful that you are continuing the race. If you are listening, or if you are watching this race back after we finished broadcasting, it is still Beaven in the lead, with Hein just behind, Pavo in third, Bernard 4th, Neil 5th, Kawasaki 6th, Contu 7th, Scott 8th, Beavesnice still with 10th, and Contu has contact with Kawasaki, and that brings out the safety car. We said they were racing close, maybe a bit too close for everyone's liking. Johan's able to flick spin it on the back straight, will rejoin. Unfortunately, missing that contact that he had with, we were presuming, Conti for P6, has prompted the safety car to come out, and a shower of cars going into the pits. It's Beaven, Hein, Pavone, Neil, Scott and Conti all electing to go into the pit lane. Now, this will probably be a scheduled stop for most, especially those on the P2 tyre, being able to make the stints last. But taking advantage of a safety car period where the cars are still relatively spread out, will be able to make a pit stop, and Scott will get out of that pit box just ahead of Pavo. Beaven still the net winner out of those round of pit stops, will retain the lead, and everyone slots in back into the safety car queue. However, we say pit stops, Ben B's coming to pit, so does Zach Silver. As both of them now come into pits for another pit stop for this evening. 50 laps down, 175 to go. It is technically a 225 lap race because of the 2 formation laps at the start, so we're going to go with that. But yeah, we've got another safety car period just because of that contact between Kawasaki and Conti fighting for what was 6th position. Kawasaki coming up the worst on this occasion, as Conti manages to withhold position, only losing 1 place, but has come into the pits for new P2 tyres. Now, drivers coming out, Scott Pavo coming out on the P1 tyre. Kawasaki, I don't believe, went into the pit lane. Didn't see him go into the pit lane, as he's still on that P1 tyre. Will be mighty flat spot if he didn't come into the pits after having that spin, but will no doubt rejoin the field and catch up with the back. He is about 26 odd seconds down. He's actually there, being lapped by who's currently in P1, Bernard. He's right. That Rayan's orange car, the yellow and blue one that's following him, that is Kawasaki from the midfield, dropping all the way down the order. I'm sure we'll be getting a wave past very shortly, as other cars are done so in order. As we wait for some of these cars, if that's Ben Asker going around, Kanoji going around as well, and I do believe Kawasaki will be given the go ahead to unlap himself very shortly, and indeed he does. There he goes, as I say it. Will rejoin the back of the grid and regain his 1 lap deficit to the leaders, and will be back on the lead lap. Not terrible for him, but an unfortunate, as I said, unfortunate contact with Conti for when they were fighting for P6. Not getting that move done, unfortunately. So we'll see what happens. He will then fight back through the field for this race. He's got another 175 laps to do, so plenty of time to make up inroads once more. But we'll see what he can do. He's a fast driver. He was up the high end of the field, as he now rejoins the back of the queue. I think it was just slightly out of position, so just a bit of a shuffle for things to get back in order. Can cost, however, Anton going into the pits. So electing to make a pit stop in the safety car period, we'll lose all the positions, but we'll have the ability to rejoin at the back of the field, which is fine, but maybe not what you plan to do. That looked like maybe a bit of an emergency service. Maybe about to run out of fuel in this yellow flag period and was only allowed to come in for fuel only. A mighty quick stop, as I believe Ben Myatt is still leading him around. Not yet pulled off. I think race control is selecting what to do. There'll be one more lap, I am presuming, for this safety car period, and we'll go racing again, as it looks like everyone has sorted themselves out. Kanoji, unfortunately, after his disconnect, 10 laps down, but still racing with us, and will no doubt get those laps back. I'm not sure if there'll be another 10 safety cars, but we'll potentially get at least a few of those laps back at the end of the race, or towards the end of the race, all barring any further connection issues. So it is as it stands. Bennett, Bevan, Hind, Scott, Pavo, Contu, Neil, Wood, Silver and Beams. Your current top 10 safety car does indeed pull onto the apron, returns to the pits. It's a different driver on the lead, still with surname beginning with B, but a bit more French. And then Bevan, Bennett, will take us away for the first time on this restart. And will slowly lead the cars around. Gets away a bit more earlier than Alfie. Alfie's had a spin! Alfie has spun on acceleration into the pit lane. He will be able to rejoin, but that's dropped him down right back to the back of the grid. And what an embarrassing moment there for Alfie. From P2, puts the foot down, floors the throttle, and the car doesn't comply. Oh, he'll be kicking himself for that, but Bennett gets away well. He's got a very decent gap over Hind, as Hind's had a spin onto the infield. Don't think that's going to prompt a safety car. He does get away with a safe rejoin. No bigger incident caused from that. And the race remains on green flag, which is nice, lovely to see. Bennett now got a 1.9 second gap, as we do have the safety car. I believe Woods had a spin. Nope, I stand corrected. That is in midfield. What in the world happened now? I didn't get the ping for it on the timing screen. There was an incident between the two cars there. Didn't quite see who it was. But it was enough to bring Ben Myatt back out onto the safety car for the 5th safety car period of this evening. We just await the safety car to pick up the race leader. They'll gather up the field once more, and into the pits come a couple of drivers as well that I think might be coming. Actually, no, ignore me, that's Finny and They're still disconnected. I thought people were coming to the pits. I'm severely mistaken. I'm sure that people will dive for the pits in a few moments time, taking advantage of this safety car period, and I can't see anyone dropping in there at the moment. I stand corrected. Zach Silver likes to come in and will dive forward the pit lane, and comes in from 6th position. In the background does Kankos, no. Carol Zach, no. They all stay out. Alfie, Beams also, it looks like, oh, now Alfie's in. I do stand corrected. We'll come into the pits, and Beams will go up to 9th. Jacob Hine will be next to come across the pit entry. Will he come into the pits? That is the question. I think he stays out for position. Wood, Oscar and Kanoji all staying out as well. Cool, so the race lead has been picked up. There's some lap cars in here, so we'll have to take another brief pause before we go racing, and safety car will organise the field back out into race order, and will allow people to unlap themselves. Hine being a good on lap down, so Wood as well, and it'll be Oscar and Kanoji who will get a lap back at the very least, as cars are given instructions from live race control and the voice chat of oNiD Community Racing. And do remember, if you do want to get involved, come find us on Discord, discord.gg/oNiD Community Racing. We are hosted by SimGrid. You can join the SimGrid community by going to SimGrid, searching for oNiD Racing, and that's where you'll find all of our latest league information, one-off events, one of which actually being this Friday, announced today on the Discord, that that we are going to LMU for Friday with the Silverstone release now being live as of today. We will be going racing around Silverstone, all the threes, GT3 and LMP3, for a 65-minute race of Silverstone. Come and get yourself signed up. Still spots available. I believe there's only a couple of LMP3 spots available, but LMGT3 spots still available for racing on Friday evening to end your week of racing. Today, as we said, it's the AC Championship we're bringing you live. Tomorrow will be the SimHound Academy going to Imola for LMGT3 Championship racing. Thursday will be iRacing and the Formula Lights, and then Friday no stream, but having our social. Sunday will be the Sunday LMU Championship, and Monday will bring our also Monday Championship there for LMU as well. Plenty to get your teeth stuck into whilst we stream those on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Sunday. But for now we are back to green. Axel gets away well, with Scott taking second, Pavo third, Conti fourth, Neil fifth, Cancos, Karaszak, Beaver, Silver and Beaver, as Karaszak actually makes a position at that restart on Cancos for 6th position. In the background, Ben Beans, Beaver and Silver all fighting away. There's almost contact between Beans and Beaver and Hein there. Silver also trying to make his way around the outside, maybe potentially a 2-for-1 if he can make that work. It's given enough space. There's contact. They get away with it, as I think Silver was just squeezed ever so slightly onto the wall there, but survives to live for another day. We'll try and make another move around the outside of Woods, as Neil's upside down on the infield does flip back around onto his wheels. We'll get going once more. I don't think that's caused the safety car to come out. The safety car has been stayed put, with that car only having an isolated incident. No other cars involved. The session remains green. I think that's a very good call from race control. Bennett still leads the way. Scott catching in. Pavo, Conti, Karaszak, Beaver, Cancos, Beam still behind your current top 10. Half a second gap for Scott and Bennett, but Scott hounded down by Pavo here a little bit. As we now go on board with JC Pavo, the gap's about 0.3 of a second, fluctuating between 0.4 and 0.3 of a second, both on the P1 tyre, the softest tyre of this evening. But we'll try and get a race done, as we've had a spin from Silver on the main straight, and that will prompt the safety car to come out on circuit. As Zach Silver, unfortunately, having a spin, a few laps of racing there, we were treated to, but unfortunately, the safety car back out once more. Cool, and we breathe. 67 laps of 225 plus 2 formation laps at the start of the race. Things are being a bit topsy-turvy, aren't they, this evening, as we have... Oh, we've had contact. That's 2 cars around in the safety car period. Beams and Neil electing to have an adventure, as Neil being a lap down will try and maybe rejoin the back of the pack, and that might extend the safety car period, especially if they were trying to get people back on the lead lap. Ben Myatt does lead the field away. He has just picked up the leader, and will now start that process of enabling drivers to take a lap back, as the field is now picking up another. Cancos now just getting back onto the back of Beaven, and that midfield queue will start to form as Silver comes into pits for a pit stop, and that may be scheduled, but could possibly be, as we said, a very brief stop for fuel if the pits remain closed. does stop in his pit box, and it is a longer stop, so I do think that is actually pit stop open, pit lane open should I say, and a longer pit stop ready for full service, tyres and fuel included. The field goes up wide, ready to allow cars to unlap themselves. That is, I believe, Kanoji and Asuka allowing to take a lap back. Asuka will regain onto the lead lap. However, Kanoji will remain 10 laps down on this occasion. I think that might become 9 laps once everything updates. But unfortunately, Kanoji with that disconnect. Still with it, still hanging in, seeing what he can do. And as we said, oNiD, if you do start a race, we do ask you if you can to finish it. So Kanoji honouring that, and I said I do applaud him for doing so. One of our more regular drivers do have also another car lapping themselves. I believe that is, if I can work it out, Neil. And Neil on lapping as well. They will rejoin the back of the grid. And again, back on the lead lap as well. I believe Ben Oscar also out of position. I think Ben will be given the prompt to go around very shortly, as he is most certainly out of position and will be now 1 lap down. I should be the next driver to be able to get a lap back, along with Kanoji, which I believe is right on the back of the grid as well. Although the field are now coming back off the oval, maybe Ben Asker maybe didn't get a lap back on that safety car period, or did get a lap back, or is still 1 lap down. However, the safety car will, on this occasion, pull into the pits, and it's the same again. Bennett will lead the way, however, Bevan all the way down in P6. Not too far off the lead, but after that shocking restart for him, he tried to throttle out of the corner, spun the car, and dropped all the way back down to grid. He's fighting back through, but Bennett will lead us away as we get going once more for race restart. Lap 72. And we are green for the 5th time of asking. Bennett gets away well. There's a gap between them and Scott for position. There's a midfield battle forming right after this restart. Hound with Silver Beams all fighting away for position in the background as Ben Beams trying to make a move around the outside of Neil, or Neil on the inside should I say, taking a position from Beams into the final turn. Silver also trying to make inroads, as he was the one that unfortunately had to spin and caused that safety car period that we have just seen. Oh, look on the inside of the final turn. On the inside, oh, it's contact, and that going to be another safety car period, potentially will be. There's contact between Silver and Neil. Silver gets into the back. Oh, sorry, Neil gets into the back of Silver, and indeed that will prompt a further safety car. This might be able to race. You might have seen more racing period of about longer than 4 or 5 laps. Unfortunately, these guys are struggling to keep it on circuit. Nothing harsh, nothing insanely malice, but maybe just a bit of miscommunication or misjudgment for some drivers, let's say. Safety car does join, and unfortunately joins at the back of the pack, so there'll be a bit of a wait for the leaders to come back around, unless the safety car can seek everyone to be cooperative and allow him back past the field. However, I think he is just slowing down right down to walking pace to try and allow the leader Bennett to catch the pack. Another brief pause as we now settle the cars back down into this sixth safety car period. And indeed we'll get everyone up and organised on the field, and we'll be able to get some cars unlapping themselves as well. Ben Oscar, I think, is a full lap down, just about, and we'll be able to potentially get that lap back as soon as race control give him permission to do so, along with Jutlin Kanoji as well, down in 14th, who is now 9 laps down, and going to rate of safety cars if he does that easy, if he is able to stay connected, or potentially back up onto the lead lap by the end of this evening. Who knows, as we await race control to make the call for those drivers. I do believe also Ben Neal lap down as well, and hopefully we'll be able to rejoin, as actually I don't know, I think it's actually just about on the same lap. Stand corrected, as he will come and take himself around the first turn and rejoin. Yeah, he's on the same lap. Dave Wood a bit further round the lap will be sure to rejoin, as we see, we said, Ben Oscar taking a lap back along with Kanoji. So we'll now be 8 or 9 laps down, as Tyron Tower refuses to ever confirm for us. But Oscar will be able to rejoin the back of the pack on the same lap. Everyone bar Kanoji still on the same racing lap as each other. And we will just wait for this to sort itself out. And Ben Myatt will be sure to get the race going as soon as possible. Ben Oscar almost exceeding his allotted positions, or tries to take P12 a bit too keenly as he rejoins the back of the grid. And we now see, does Ben pull off at this restart? I don't think he's going to have one more lap potentially before we get racing once more, as the cars are still hugging the outside line, potentially allowing maybe another car to unlap themselves. I can't see it happening. It would be Kanoji who's allowed to take another lap back. I don't think they're going to do it this time round. And we will hopefully see a safety car in this lap. The safety car period does go for a little while longer, and will no doubt get going once more. No real pit stops happening that we saw on that safety car period, maybe a couple of pit stops happening here and there, but now the safety car is potentially now looking to exit the oval, and it does floor it away, and AC will get going once more. It's Bennett once more to lead us away for this restart, going through the final turn. We'll look to get away well as he's done previously. Leaves it a little bit longer before he floors the throttle, and indeed he does now. And away we go, as Scott now under threat, immediate threat from Jay-Z Pavot for P2. There's contact between the two. Scotty saves it but makes contact once more into the wall, and instantly causes a further safety car. Silver also involved there as well, being a bit of collateral damage potentially, as Bennett, the race leader, along with Karolzak, come into the pits along with Kontu and another car as well of Ben Oscar. Further safety car period for this evening's race at lap 81. And we'll hopefully get an actual good restart coming up as well. But for now, it is all drivers struggling to get away with racing with one another. Pavot does inherit the race lead, however, on that P1 tyre. That tyre is probably going to be dying off at this point, being the softer, more grippier compound, but less durable. Beaver and Cancars eyeing everyone down to P7 on that P2 tyre. Karolzak just making a pit stop, goes onto the P1 tyre. Will be looking to make up inroads through the field as we get away for another restart. Kanoji will get another lap back, which is good news for him. He'll be 8 laps down from the race lead, and is slowly making his way back through the field and to try and battle for position. But Ben Myatt leading the safety car through sector. But unfortunately, disappointing contact there between that was P2 and P3 at the time, which was Scott and not Overstreet. I lost track of who it was. I do apologise, but it was Scott that was in contact with another driver who's decided both of them decided to drop down the order. Silver now also into pits for a pit stop. Will be able to get a relatively cheap pit stop, rejoin the back of the field with fresh fuel and tyres. We do hope. Kanoji not getting a lap back on this occasion. It's a very quick safety car period just to gather everyone back up and to try and attempt another race. It is now Pavot that leads the way. A different name on the front of the grid. The driver now taking everyone through, leading the field for this restart. Ben White pulls off. And Pavot will lead everyone away, gets away, holds everyone up for a little while longer than most, and now floors it and gets away relatively well. Bevan, unlike previously, isn't going to be spinning the car as he restarts, and will get underway once more for restart lap 84. As the field gets away once more, it is now P3 and P4 that are fighting away on that restart. Hein and Kankos going side by side. Hein making a move for P3 along the inside line on the P2 tyre, as Karolzak also making inroads. A cluster of cars in the background. They're going to have to be careful not to get into contact with one another as we do this race restart. Silver also trying to make inroads as everyone for now in that lower field gets away well. It is now almost 4 wide going into the final turn, and it is Karolzak, Wood, Neil, Bennett, Beams all fighting for position as Wood loses a position to Karolzak. Neil now looking to look up the inside in that white BAR Honda livery car in the background. A couple of cars going wide as they try and figure out space, and they are able to do so. Good racing on that occasion. Just hoping they can keep it that way as they go through into the final turn. It is Bennett trying to chase down Neil as Karolzak is able now to pull away in the background. It is Wood, Conti, Scott, Beams all fighting away. Conti up the inside and will make the move work for P8 as Wood now falls foul to Scotty trying to make a move up the inside of that middle kind of corner, and it goes down to the final turn and will easily make the move on Wood as faster drivers also on that P1 tyre as well, taking advantage. Bevan off the circuit from P2 into the wall. Thankfully, as we said, no damage on tonight, but safety car remains and stays put. An isolated incident allowing those drivers to keep on racing. It's Karolzak and Kankos P3 and P4. Karolzak on the inside and gets the move done. Kankos now looking vulnerable to Neil for position 5 and 4th as well. They're going to be fighting away as Kankos ups into the wall, scrapes the wall. That's not going to help his cause. He drops a couple of positions. Silver facing the wrong way and is able to rejoin, but does prompt the safety car to come back out once more. Good evening, Valor. Hey, by the way, thank you for joining us. You join us in the 7th safety car period of this race. 90 laps down, 135 to go. Oh, and breathe. Yeah, not even halfway yet. Another safety car period for this race. We will wait for the field to catch up with another. Wood and Bevan electing to go to the pits and taking another fresh set of tyres and some fuel. Kanoji, with this potentially being a longer safety car period, will potentially be able to get another lap back, and we will wait for race control to give that direction. Just done with bowling and have a match Saturday. 10-pin bowling, I'm presuming, as in, you know, the bowling alley you go to, that kind of bowling. Good to have you anyway. Thank you for dropping by. It's a pleasure to see you. And have a match Saturday. Well, good luck with that match on Saturday. Football match? Bowling match? A match of some form. Good luck with it anyway, as we see indeed Kanoji able to gain a lap back. That is the only car not on the lead lap, so hopefully when Kanoji rejoins the back of the grid, that will prompt Ben Myatt to come into the pits quite promptly to do another restart for this evening. And indeed, Ben does pull down into the bottom of the circuit. It is then usually followed by him pulling off back into the apron, into the pit lane. Pavo once more leads the way. Season opener going to Toronzo. I think I said that right. Good luck. Have a great match. And hope it all goes well Saturday. Meanwhile, Pavo will lead the way on this restart once more, with Hound just behind him on the P2 tyre, but the grip of the P1 still getting away well, as Cancos is sleeping a little bit. Immediately drops 4 positions down to P6. But the race does go green flag once more, with Beaven fighting away, and that's Beaven now on the outside line, fighting with Beams and Asker in the midfield. As Beams on the inside, almost get down onto the apron, will try and fight off these 2 cars behind him, as it now looks like actually Scott making a move on Cancos up ahead as well. Ben Beams defending Beaven around the outside, trying to make a move on Ben Asker. Now goes to the inside. Will make a move now. Now trying to make a move on Ben Beams around the outside, and that's move done. Zach Silver now also holding a position from Ben Asker. Ben Asker fighting away for him, but drops the position down to 12th. Forward now onto the back of... Kaloji on the back of... Was that Kaloji? No, I do stand correct. That's a lapped car. However, Zach Silver, they move up the inside of Ben Beams. That looks like a pretty easy move to make. Will gain a position for now, and the midfield is getting somewhat spread out. Pavo actually getting away reasonably well, actually getting a 0.3 of a second gap, which is enough for him to retain the lead. Cancos gets overtaken on the inside by Beaven, as we saw a move there, would also side by side with Ben Arce, with Kanoji in the background. Bear in mind, Kanoji is 9 laps down. He can unlap himself if he so chooses to do so, or potentially make a move up the inside here if he is the quicker driver. But maybe thinking just to back off a little bit. He doesn't potentially want to ruin the battle here between Ben Asker and Wood, but does unlap himself. And for now, I'm not sure how long that will stand, but we will see if Asker does get back hard. Well, not driving like that, he went very wide into turn 1, and will look to retain that position. However, the leader's now fighting away. It's high on the outside, trying to fight back past Pavo. I stand corrected, actually. This is second and third. I'm ever so sorry. Losing track of what laps are we on here. Hein and Karolzak fighting away with Hein for P2. I do stand corrected. Not too far behind the leader. Leader's pulling away a little bit. Pavo, the gap is 0.2 of a second. Top 4 separated by about 1 second. Not much at all, and it is a gap between 4th and 5th that is now forming. And we'll now see these guys maybe best of the rest. Never mind, kneels around into the pit entry wall. An unforced error. Sees him makes contact with that pit entry wall. It doesn't prompt the safety car, as we said. Isolated incident, isn't involved in multiple cars, but unfortunately he drops from that top 4 battle. And he's going to be kicking himself. Completely unforced error. It just looks like he lost the rear on turn-in, and will now get going once more. These cars are running a lack of downforce. They are running very minimalistic downforce for these ovals, some of which are catching these drivers out. And Neil, however, is able now to try and make inroads on P9, which is Zach Silver. He's looking mighty close, and will potentially look to make a move very shortly as he goes sliding once more. He's getting into the slipstream, losing grip. I think that's what it is. But yes, 227 laps. It is only a 20-second lap, Valete. So it may be a lot of laps, but if you get a good stint of running, those laps will come tumbling down in quick succession. It's just unfortunate that we've had quite a few safety car periods at the start of this race. We are now almost approaching halfway, as we see that Neil trying to make inroads. We'll stick with Neil for a little while. No real other battles happening as it stands. Cars just following one another quite peacefully, and getting their head down to try and make some inroads into this 225 lap race. 120 laps to go. 122 laps, shall I say. I stand corrected. I can do math. Just about. It's only Tuesday. Jesus Christ. Anyway. Neil hanging fire for now. We'll keep an eye on his progress as he fights back through the field. Maybe again just electing to stay put, waiting for a safety car to see what he can do. Lap 106. And we see Paveau, High and Karolzak quite close to one another. They're not 2 seconds down from the lead. As P1 and P3 all on that P1 tyre. The softer compound. It won't last as long. But is the grippiest. P2 tyre, again, less grippy, but will last longer, so there will be a bit of a cutover point. So when that P1 tyre does start to falter, and it may be sooner than we expected. Paveau is struggling to get the car turned in, but gets it back on exit. Karolzak now looking to try and chase down Hein for position, but again, loses out. It's a bit of tit for tat here going through these turns. We'll jump on board very briefly with Karolzak just to see what he's up to, see what he's doing. Sticking in 5th gear. I think he will hold 5th. He goes across the line, but very much meandering around at this point, not going full quali speed, knowing that there's a long race to go. Maybe biding their time, trying to maybe realise there's been quite a few safety car periods that they now need to maybe hunker down for and try and make inroads to this actual race. But even trying to get past Scott for 6th position is unable to do it on this occasion, as the field is now, for the first time this evening, being somewhat spread out. No isolated battles here and there, which is nice to see. Alfie around the outside. And there's been a fight for the lead, as Hein is now past Paveau. That P1 tyre for James Lee Paveau potentially now starting to wear out, as he now drops the position. It looks like he was just out-driven around the corner by Jacob Hein. As Jacob now pulls away, manages to find about 0.4 of a second, and has actually extended that gap almost by 0.7 a second, which is, for this race, quite a big gap. As Karolzak is next to try and overtake Paveau, about half a second down. Will try and make inroads, but both drivers on that P1 tyre, I think that P1 tyre is starting to die off a little bit for both these drivers. Pit stops maybe incoming for both drivers, but for now, Hein getting away well. Remember, he is our AC Assetto Corsa oNiD 500 Championship. He loves a good oval when he's given one, and has been able to show it here. Starting from the back of the grid, potentially from a qualifying ban. It's a car off the circuit! Who in the world was that? That's Ben Oscar. I think the game glitched, allowed him to be instantly teleported back to pits, as such as sim racing is, and gets away, avoids a safety car period, and is able to rejoin, albeit down in 30 position. Will now be a lap down, as unfortunately having an instant maybe out of his control, but does rejoin. Now field is definitely spread out. We're having isolated battles here and now, which is nice to see. Not everyone isn't fighting with one another, but maybe just some one-on-one battles. Neil on the P2 tyre, maybe taking advantage of the P1 tyres of Andrew Scott dying off a little bit, scraping the wall on exit of turn in the final turn. Isn't going to help Ben Neal's cause here, but does get it going once more, and will maintain to try and hunt down Scott. And I think these tyres are very much dying for the Scotty, as through the turn they go. The gap that Ben can close through the turn was substantial, and now Scotty, I think, looking a little bit vulnerable to an attack. Nice to get some running in here, as it looks like Scotty held up by a lapped car. He's going to be boxed in a little bit here. Manages to get pulled out of the slipstream, but that is move done for Ben Neal. Opportunistic. So I believe that was Alex Wood, P12, just staying on the inside line and then sticking to the racing as it went to the outside, trying to get out of the way. And that allowed Neal to capitalise, get the move done on Scott, and will take P7. Very, very opportunistic. Bit risky, especially with the safety car periods that we've seen this evening, as we now hit the halfway mark of the season. Kanoji in the pit is taking a pit stop 6 laps down, but will no doubt rejoin and get those laps back if there is a safety car period. Ben Aster, also after having a pit stop, drops to 3 laps down and will continue to fight back up through the field. However, it is still Hein, Paveau, Karolzak leading the way, and it is mighty close between Karolzak and Paveau for second and third. Still below half a second, both on the P1 tyre that it may be dying here a little bit, and not on the P2 tyre, about 2 seconds back. It isn't able to close the gap as it stands, but Jacob Hein pulling away. 2.7 seconds is now the gap. That is a country mile for these guys. What's nice to see is actually getting some good green flag running here as well, after what has been a bit of a torrid period for safety cars, with cars being involved in incidents, should I say, throughout the start of this race. And you can see how much they're having to lift off, how wide Paveau's going compared to Johan. I have a feeling here they're just nursing the tyres, trying to use up all the fuel they can, maybe trying to make another pit stop ever so shortly, where Jacob's been able to push and get that gap open to 2.5 seconds now. It did close a little bit in the past couple of laps, but we'll be looking to potentially hold that lead as he goes into... Oh, he hits the wall! He's hit the wall! That's going to close the gap right up once more. And the leaders are catching within a second now. And a mistake from Hein, potentially struggling to get around traffic, has closed that gap back up now to within a second. But Paveau and Karolzak will have to deal with the same cars as well. Thankfully, I think whatever happened with Jacob was just a fluke, and has survived an attack, but has got slow cars ahead of him now, and that's causing those to close up. Well, however, Paveau and Karolzak now fighting away. Karolzak gets the move down the inside. Paveau immediately darts for the pit lane. From third position, will come into the pits. I have a sneaky suspicion those P1s were screaming for help as he comes into the pit lane, along with Kontu in the background as well. Both drivers coming into the pits for their pit stop, and again getting off those tyres, getting up to something, maybe the P2 tyre, maybe for a bit more of a longer stint, as Hein is able to extend that gap and maintain that gap above 2 seconds after what has been a slight hiccup. We do have Ben Meyer out onto the circuit. What's happened here? Has there been an incident that we've missed, sadly? I think there has been. Unfortunately, we see the safety car back out after what has been a longer extended stint of running, as Penot, Peven and Neil all coming into the pits at pretty much exactly nose to tail as the safety car is called. Neil stops, Benot stops, Bevan goes round to his pit box. Where is Benot and Neil going to come out? Will Alfie be able to get ahead of them? Benot and Neil leave their pit box, and Alfie just about gets out ahead, as Hein and Karolzak also pitting as well. Race leaders into pits nose to tail, as Jacob Hein indeed taking a pit stop. The field closing up with that safety car, so the cars will be a bit more closer into the pit lane, but all being well will retain their positions bar any mistakes, like that one from Zach Silver. He just saw that green and black car have to reverse back into pit lane because he overshot his pit box. Hopefully that's not going to be happening with any of the other drivers, as both now Karolzak and Hein get away, and we'll have traffic in between now. Saving grace is that the traffic in between them will more than likely be able to unlap themselves as soon as the safety car organises the field, which will be in the next few minutes, I am sure. Once again, Ben White leading the way and trying to catch up with the race leader, and indeed I think has just about done so. The one car between the race leader and the safety car, and I believe that car of Oscar, will be very quickly prompted to pass the safety car and go to the back of the grid. Indeed they do, as we go on to lap 130 of 225. Oh. And breathe. That was some nice running, I must admit, and we've got a lot done for that stint of racing. we will just await for race control to communicate with the drivers. 2-lapped cars, 3-lapped cars actually 4 potentially. Silver, Wood, Oscar and Kanoji. Silver and Wood will be able to unlap and potentially just go back onto the lead lap, as Wood is I don't think we'll get back onto the lead lap. We'll potentially be still 1 lap down, and Oscar being 1 lap, 2 laps, or potentially 2 or 3 laps down. Oh, pardon me. As the cars are now able to unlap themselves. Beams goes into the pits for a pit stop in this safety car period, and will potentially will be just a maintenance pit stop. If the pit lane is closed in this safety car period, will probably maybe just be a maintenance stop for fuel. So does Cancos as well, off either coming in for an emergency stop for just for fuel with potential pit lane being closed, or for a full service. I do believe the pit lane is actually open and remains open actually, unlike real IndyCar oval racing. So cars coming in for their full service, and we'll get going once more. 1:31 at 2:25. 96 laps to go. A decent running there. I'm quite happy with that, to be fair. The guys were respectful of each other and were racing quite fairly consistently. We didn't quite see who caused that yellow flag safety car, but rest assured everyone is doing race control doing their jobs here and maintaining the race with live race control. Cancos unfortunately has disconnected in 11th position. Wood will take up 12th, and eventually will drop down to 14th when Oscar and Kanoji are able to lap the pitted driver. We'll hope Cancos can rejoin and continue and finish this race. For now, cars now getting ready for the next restart. We had some decent racing there, decent green flag period. Hopefully we can have another, as Karolzak now leads away from Hound, Beaver, Bennett, Neal, Scott, Pavo, Conti, Silver Beams, and Karolzak puts a foot down and gets away reasonably well on the P1 tyre, more grippy than the P2 runners behind him, and that shows. He uses a superior grip of that more grippy tyre to put away and get about a 0.5 of a second gap to the cars behind him. Beaver and Bennett Neal reasonably close together, as Ben Neal also recovering from a spin earlier on he had into the pit wall, but is suitably made his way back up through the field. P5 for him as he now looks to try and make a move with Bennett for P4. Not going to be able to do it there, as we'll try and get back another position. Ars goes up to 12th, lapping Cancos, who's unfortunately DNF'd. Karolzak, fastest lap of the race, 20.162, getting down to qualifying pace for these fastest laps now, as he is clear to pull away out the front of the field. It's top 3 once again pulling away well, and Bennett being left behind about 1.4 of 1.5 seconds adrift. As again, another fastest lap from Karolzak at 20.0, almost seeing sub 19 lap times again for like we did in qualifying. So it's nice to see, and he'll be continuing to make that push through into first position. Neal, however, getting mighty close to Bennett. And again, the setup of the cars, I can't get my head around that steering wheel being so right hand down. That would just screw with my mind. As he cuts the wall though for good measure, does Ben, and that's not going to help his cause. In the background, we'll jump aboard with Pavo. Actually, he's got a good front row seat to these cars ahead of him. Scott, Neal, and Bennett. So does Conto actually. He's got a view of all 4 cars. And we'll try and make a move back. Sticks in 3rd gear actually. That's an interesting choice. They were taking a bit of a longer gearing, but then does eventually able to shift back up to fourth gear, and we'll try and get onto that. You want to see something really bad? Look at a driver count. Oh no, I'm not looking. I know what you're going to show me. As we press the wrong button. Let's see if we can figure it out. It is that what I want, and then look at that. Oh, that's Mr. Bean in the driving seat. And he cuts the wall for good measure as, as I don't know how I take that. Let's get, yeah. We're probably going to move away from that. That's going to be ingrained in my memory, and that is going to give me nightmares. I am not going to lie. Even now 3 seconds down from Hound for whatever reason. He did have a, as we were looking at his unique driver skin, he did hit the wall and had a torrid lap. It's dropped down to 3 seconds, but 3.5 seconds now behind Jacob Hound. So I just pressed the wrong button again. There we go. Professional stream, guys. Of course it is. As Bevan does look to try and get back those positions. Contu still on the tail of Pavo, and Pavo reasonably near Scott as well. Silver's dropped some time to this battle. It's about 2.5 seconds off as the lead battle closed into 0.5 seconds. Ben Arsker come into the pits, however. That was potentially a crash and a quick reset to the pits. Potentially getting into the wall and glitching out again, and that's happened. It's not the first time that's happened, and that's going to hurt Ben Arsker. And I think maybe had an instant where he spun the car and it decided that you're up, neither glitched out on the map or decided to go upside down and automatically revert into the pits. He will allow these racers to go past. He is now officially being lapped and will give them space to make a move around them. Hound getting very close to Karolzak, who's got a lap car ahead of him. That is that's Alex Wood, who promptly allows them past, I do believe. That's not Alex Wood, that's apologies, that's another car. I can't figure out who that is. Very similar livery, but it's fighting for position, right? A lapped car trying to get past the leader. I do not know. Must be significantly quicker than the leader. They shouldn't really be fighting because it's causing Jacob Hound to close up right onto Karolzak. Will have the inside line as the leaders almost make contact. Always gets checked up there to Karolzak. They're almost 3 wide. That lapped car does need to get out of the way at this point to allow these guys to go past. Even if that lapped car is quicker, they need to be thinking, now that you guys are fighting for the lead, I'll let you pass. And indeed they do so. But a bit of an awkward moment there for that car, and will gave us a bit of excitement there as the leaders got mighty close to each other. Scott gets past Contu for position as is now closing in on Pavo for 6th position, and will be hopefully making that move very, very shortly. We'll jump on board with Contu, who is on that P2 tyre, but the P1 tyre, Scott and Pavo, reasonably fresh. Still maybe has some grip for they can use for fighting, but again, that P2 tyre will last longer, and there will be a bit of a crossover between the two. It looks like Scott might be struggling here as well, just because of that reason. Is able to get through the corner a bit more quicker, actually. May have made a brief mistake earlier on in a couple of corners previous, but Contu now again trying to close. And there's a car spinning. That's Pavo having a massive spin. Is able to get down onto the apron without causing any further issues. Will get going once more, but does prompt the safety car. Lap 151. Bennett gets past Neil, and I'm not entirely sure whether that car was move was made as a safety car, or if then Neil had his own spin. That might be a bit of a finger wagging for the stewards to review, but for now it is yellow flag as Ben might take the car out of the pit lane, or safety car out of the pit lane and onto the circuit. Bevan, Bennett, Neil Contu, Scott Pavo, Kanoji, all electing to take a pit stop in this safety car period. Oh, get all bunged up and a bit of a cold. I do apologise, folks. But it's safety car. Jacob Hound will trail from Karolzak, who's currently leading the race. Very close between the two on the race, but for now it is going to be closing the pack back up. Karolzak most notably, not yet coming into the pits, but is on that P1 tyre. Now, how old that P1 tyre is compared to Hind's P2 tyre, I'm not entirely sure. But still, from third position, let's come into the pits and we'll be taking the pit stop. Will the leaders do the same as they come around final turn? Nope, they do not. They will catch up the safety car and rejoin the safety car queue. Now, we will be bearing with for a moment because there are cars out of position once more. And they will be given a chance to unlap themselves at the discretion of race control. First of which being, I believe, Alex Wood. And then it will be Oscar and Kanoji who will then be able to take a lap back from their standards. Kanoji being 9 laps down or 10 laps down previously, back up to only being 6 laps down after his disconnect at the start of the race. So I'm hoping he'll maybe not going to get back on the lead lap, but is indeed continuing, and props to him for doing so. Dave Wood, I think, will be the first car to get. So actually, it might be Ben Beams who's out of position as well in P8. Will potentially be the first car to get the wave around. Indeed, he is. And we'll get down through the go past the race leaders on the safety car. It will then be, I think we just saw in the background, Dave Wood also going to unlap himself as well. A few cars actually being released. Ben Asker 2 and Kanoji all able to get a lap back. As we take a brief pause for the 9th safety car period. I think 9th. I think I lost count a little bit. Another safety car period for this race. We are about almost 3/4 way through this race with 72 laps to go. We had a decent period of green flag running earlier on, and if it wasn't for Pavo clipping the wall and spinning out down onto the apron, it would have been one of the longest green flags periods had this evening. However, safety car is back out and we will just await for them to get the race back underway. The only other driver a lap down is Dave Wood. I don't think he's going to get another lap back, as it looks pretty set that the safety car is going to be coming in this lap. And indeed he does pull away. Ben might take it to the inside of the circuit. We will stick with Karolzak as he is on that grippier P1 tyre, the age of which is still relatively new. Will probably have the grip on launch to pull away from Jacob Hind, as the rest of the field down to P7 on that P2 tyre. Scott Pavo on the P1 as well will look to make inroads as we do await for the green flag to be waved. It is a bit of a delayed start. Karolzak waiting to the last possible moment to go green, but does indeed get away the field once more. 157, lap 157 as we go on to the latter parts of this race. It is Karolzak, Hind, Bevan, Bennett, Neal, Contu, Scott Pavo, Silver fighting away position, almost 3 wide between all those guys. Scott having a wobble going through the final turn as car twitches upon acceleration. That P1 tyre maybe again dying a very painful death as the car squirms forward. Grip, and there's a car spinning. That's Bevan! That is Bevan from a top 4 position, dropping down the order, and unfortunately prompts the safety car to return. Contact potentially I am seeing between Bevan and another driver, causing him to spin, and that will be hopefully a reasonably short safety car period because cars didn't really get away. There wasn't any other lapped cars or anything, and the next car, I think the next cars to be allowed to unlap themselves once more will be Wood to be back on the lead lap and Oscar to be +2 laps down. So we'll see what happens. Karolzak takes the lead. Got some cars trying to dive into pit, call each other's bluff. There's potentially Karolzak was ahead at the safety car when it was called. Has been Hind has been ordered to give the position back, and indeed he does, and all the cars will now form to the top right side of the oval to allow cars to unlap. It's Dave Wood that gets the first opportunity, then it will be Ben Asker, then Kanoji. When these guys get to the back of the grid, the safety car will no doubt pull in to the pit lane. I don't think it's quite soon enough for him to do so here. Ben will probably stay out for one more lap to be sure the cars can rejoin the back of the pack. Indeed, as you go through the final turn, he does stay out, and it will be one more lap of safety car at the very least before everyone else gets going once more. So, we wait patiently as Ben takes the Indycars around for one more tour of the oval, and we will see Karolzak take the field away once more on that softer tyre. We should get a better drive, was getting a better drive out the corners, but that tyre is now looking maybe a little bit worn, and the life of that tyre may be coming into effect. Can Jacob use that overlap? The P2 tyre will last that little bit longer, and there'll be a slight crossover where the P2 tyre will, the more harder durable tyre, even though less grippy, will be better than the softer, less durable P1 tyre. We are waiting for the restart. Karolzak now puts the foot down, once again gets a good gap as they launch away, and Hines immediately under threat from Bennett for P3 in the background. Everyone else gets away reasonably well, no further instance to speak of. Pavot looking to try and get past Scotty for P6 on that P1 tyre, tries to make a move to the inside, doesn't quite work, will lose out some time and drops back a little bit further away from Scott for P6. Everyone else looks to get away well, and in single formation the gaps look to be relatively spread out and quite even. However, I say that Conti makes a mistake, goes wide, and loses 2 positions to Scott and Pavot. Bevan upside down, back into the pits. The safety car does stay put, however, does not go into the race, will remain in the pits. As we see Karolzak still running away with it. Bevan will rejoin the race. The car to go upside down, and that will trigger the game AC Assetto Corsa to manually reset him to the pits. He's essentially managed to get 3 tyres as well and a free pit stop, but we'll get going back down 11th. 1 lap down again from the rest of the field. That is unfortunate for him. Wood into the pits in P10 will potentially lose a position to Bevan, who's not that far behind and closing that gap. Quickly. Wood still in the pits, and I believe Bevan will be able to gain a position back to P10. Indeed he does, with Dave Wood. With Alex Wood, should I say. Sorry, I keep saying Dave Wood. That's one of our admins. He's not racing, it's Alex Wood. I apologise, Alex, if you're listening back or listening in and I've inadvertently called you Dave too many times. Dave does come back, and Bevan back into the pit. Oh, he's not back into the pits, he's spun into the pits. That is bad to worse for Alfie. We've seen him spin there before. That is not the way to enter the pit lane. I do believe that may have been another unforced error for Alfie. He's going to be kicking himself. The AC aficionado has logged numerous hours on the Assetto Corsa, but for now, on this occasion, struggling with these IndyCars here on the oval circuit. Will go back to the pits, will be forced to take another pit stop as, oh, Hein very much almost into the wall, and that's looking better for reason to go around the outside. Bennett P2 taken, done and dusted at the demise of Jacob Hein running a bit too high into the wall. There is a car that's spun. That is Kanoji right on the pit straight. He is able to get going again. I'm not sure if it's going to prompt the safety car. It doesn't. And is able to get going once more. Whew. Well, glad to see him get going once more with a very minimal disruption to the race. It is, however, Karolzak still leading the way. Lap 171 of 225 with +2 formation laps at the start of this race. That's why you see 227 on the top of your screens, as they're not closing in slightly now to Kawasaki. High, not too far behind. They're all within 1 second of each other down to P4. There's a big gap to Scott and Pavo, who are now fighting away. Pavo looks to... Sorry, Contu, should I say, and Pavo fighting away. Contu looks to make a move around the outside on the P2 tyre. Maybe the P1 tyre fading away ever so slightly. And always a nudge between the two, as now Contu right on the back of Scotty for position. There's a lapped car in the way that needs to maybe think about making a move. That's Alex Wood diving to the inside, allowing these cars to potentially go around the outside. Will try and stay reasonably out the way of one another, but it's now got a car on the inside, and that's Scotty trying to get back past that car, and that's going to kill this battle a little bit, as Contu is now able to make his way past. Ooh, that was a very dicey for a moment there, as Contu, Pavo very close to each other. That is Scott, actually. I do stand corrected. That's not a lap car. Scott's into the wall. That's going to cause Pavo to try and make a move. Not going to quite be able to make it here. Around the outside he tries to go, but outside line not going to work. Actually, Contu gets a better run on the inside. Closes the gap right up. We'll have a look down the inside of turn 1. On the inside line, very close to one another, not making contact, keeping it nice and clean, and will survive to fight for at least another lap as we get onto lap 177 of this race. A nice little green flag period here worth of racing. The leader Kawasaki pulling away 1.1 seconds is now the gap between him and Bennett for second. Hein, Neil, Scott, Pavo, Contu, Silver, Beams and Wood is your current top 10, but that can change in a moment's notice. We're keeping an eye on the lap times and the gaps as well. Contu looking to try and make a move around the final turn. It does close the gap in the corner, but then finding that Pavo just pulls away ever so slightly. And that's the thing with these cars, if you get a good run into the corner, they necessarily won't get a good run out of it. So it's a bit of so tit for tat. There's a car upside down. It's Kanoji. He's stuck in the middle of the circuit, maybe making contact with the wall. Avoids any other collision, but is enough to bring the safety car out onto the circuit. Leader is also in the pits for this safety car period. Comes into the pits as soon as safety car is called. Bennett will take the race lead, along with Hein and Neil all coming into the pit lane for their pit stops. Kanoji also into the pits. I'm presuming it's damaged tyres from that spin. As you said, no car damage, but after having that spin, I'm sure the tyres will be feeling like 50p pence pieces with the amount of flat spots that you may have got on those tyres. Kawasaki and everyone leaves the pits pretty much in order than they were. Scott actually jumps up to P3 and gets that position back up the field a little bit from not stopping. So that's good for them, and they'll Angela will try and make inroads with that into that P3 position, but we'll probably need to stop again, being on a slightly different strategy to the cars that are around them. As Silver now comes into the pits along with is that just Silver? That is just Zach Silver. Stand corrected. It looks like there's another car coming in along with Zach. Nope, it's just Zach into the pits. We'll drop down the order from the midfield down to the back of the pack once more, and we'll indeed take the opportunity just to get some fresh tyres, more fuel. You are now within the range of potentially finishing the race on 1 tank of fuel and 1 set of tyres. It's depending on where and how people stop. It's not outside the realms of possibility that we're only going to see most of these drivers make maybe 1 or 2 more pit stops for the end of this race. So we wait, we see how this all folds out. As you see some cars unlap themselves, try and get back. Lap that is Wood. It'll be potentially Contu. Yeah, it's Contu, Wood, and Beaven. Beaven's 2 laps down after what's been a bit of a calamitous late stage of the race. Couple of unforced errors with Alfie there, but Contu and Wood and Beaven, along with Arsker and Kanoji, all able to take to the pits. Beams, however, Alex comes into the pits, and that will be potentially, he goes onto the P2 tyre, maybe within the realms of finishing this race, with this being his final pit stop. Interesting. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll take a note of Ben Beams coming to the pits with 40... I'll do some maths now, Jesus Christ. 44 laps to go. It's not outside the realms of possibilities that we will see Ben finish the race on that one last pit stop. Bennett leads the way, and I believe safety cars have already come back into the pits. Indeed he has. All the cars that have been able to unlap themselves have unlapped themselves, and will now allow Bennett to take the car away for the restart here, and does get away reasonably well. Leaves Zach sleeping, and Scotty's had a spin on the restart, and that's massive contact with multiple cars in the background. And unfortunately, that's Scotty down to the back of the field, and safety car is back out once more. Will potentially just be a bit cheeky here and just dive up in front of Bennett, as that restart was a bit calamitous. Unfortunately, Scotty just flooring the throttle, losing the rear, and then finding themselves facing the wrong way, causing contact with multiple cars in the background, as we now have a very instantaneous further safety car period. As we await to see how we get going once more. And we breathe. Just about, as we await for the next safety car period to happen. Oh, hello, what in the world is that? Apologies if you heard that in the background, that was very random. And some music decided to play on my Spotify. That's going to be monetization out the window. So we will await just to see what else happens with this race. And safety car does keep on going for at least one more lap. As they'll be led around the first corner for I lost track of how many safety cars actually, to be fair, but nonetheless we will continue with said safety car period. I think that we'll be pulling in very shortly into the pit lane will be our Ben Myatt, and indeed he does, which will leave Bennett once again to go for another race start. It is Bennett, Karazak, Pavel O'Neill, Heinz Silver, Conti, Beams, Scott and Wood. After that unfortunate restart from Angela Scott on the exit of the final turn, putting the power down and lighting up the rear tyres and then spinning the car. We will see Bennett try and lead the field away once more. Indeed he does, and away we go for lap 187. 40 laps to go. Bennett gets away well. Pavo in the background looking to try and hunt down Carol's position. Equally, Hein and Neil looking reasonably close with one another for position. And well, I say Pavel's hunting down Karolzak, now drops way back from Karolzak and now into the clutches of Neil on this restart, as tries to take a bit of a different line through the corner. Does Ben Neil, Jacob Hein in the background also having the ability just to watch this battle unfold, or jump on board just to see what Jacob Hein sees. We see these two drivers, oh, they make contact! As Neil and Pavo make wheel contact, nothing more than that. Hind tries to make a move around the outside. Isn't going to work. Neil holds the inside line and will try and hug that outside line and hug the wall. Gets a better drive out the corner, but Ben Neil makes contact, and that's Ben Neil into the wall. And he spins. Safety car's back out. Oh. Right, another safety car period. We'll wait for the field to be caught back up. Bennett actually comes into the pits. This will and should be his final pit stop, you would imagine, for this race. Put on the P2 tyre, put in the field and see what you can do. There's other safety car periods you can do, cheap pit stop, maybe put P1s back on, then that may not be outside the realms of possibility. But for now, it is leader in down to 9th. As he exits the pit lane, it'll become back up to 8th again. Nope, it stays P9. I do stand corrected, as the field is very much neutralised. And ironically, he rejoins almost behind the safety car. He'll be prompted to overtake the safety car very shortly, and will indeed rejoin ahead. But we'll just wait for the Karolczak race leader to make their way around to the safety car. Safety car's not too far ahead of Karolczak actually, and top 4, top 5, top 6, 7, top 8 all staying pretty much line astern. And we'll hopefully have a reasonably short safety car period for this one. And here we go once more. So, lap cars will now be able to unlap. I do believe that is Bennett, Wood, Arscombe, Bevan and Kanoji, who will all be able to unlap one racing lap. Bennett will be put back onto the racing, the actual racing lap in itself, and so will Wood as well. Arscombe will remain a lap down, and will have to wait for another lap or another safety car period to potentially try and take that back. However, he's looking to the inside line thinking, please let me unlap myself, please. And indeed he gets the permission to do so. So he will unlap himself. I think our timing tower shows +1 lap when they're 2 laps down. So I think we presume Ben Arscombe will still be 1 lap down as he comes to the back of the grid, along with Alfie Bevan as well, actually. We'll see what the timing tower says as they come onto the line. But I do believe it will still be 1 lap down. Ben Arscombe and Alfie Bevan would be. And timing tower just taking a while to update. Kanoji also being allowed to unlap himself once more, +8 laps for Kanoji, unfortunately, but still sticking it out to see what he can do. Arscombe does rejoin the back of the pack, and there'll be 1 more lap before the safety car comes back in to take the pit lane. We're getting close to the point of where the race control will call it just a green flag for the rest of the race. That'll be the final few laps, and that will come in the quite near future with on 195 of 227. Karolczak still leading the way. Pavo, Heinz, Silver, Contu, Scott, Beams, Neil, Bennett and Wood all within shouting distance of one another within this race restart. For the 10th time of asking, Ben Wyatt comes into the pits. And it will be Karolczak leading the way. We've had 68 laps on the safety car. And we're hoping to put some more laps of London on green flag. Let's go racing once more. It is Karolczak leads them away. Pavo, Heinz, Silver, Conti, Scott, Beeves, Neil, Bennett, Wood, as they go on to lap 196 side by side in the midfield. Bennett, Neil fighting away. Wood, Bevan and Oscar also trying to make up some positions. Is Beaver making moves on all of them, getting ahead. In the background, it will then be Wood and Neil fighting away, and indeed, Wood and that's Wood actually unlapping themselves, I do believe, on Van Asker. That's interesting to see. However, they do keep on going. Scott and Conti mighty close together, 6th and 5th. And remaining almost close to tail. The leaders are now checking out a little bit on fresh P1 tyres. Will extend the gap with the more grippy tyre. It is Karolzak pulling away. That is Pavone and Hein who are reasonably close together. First and second and third, should I say. Silver and Conti were reasonably close, but Scott is even closer to Conti. Beam's also catching Scott as well. It will become a bit of a three-way fight. For a four-way fight for P5 actually, and that will brew up some entertainment, I'm sure. We'll keep an eye on that. We'll stick with this battle here. Pavo being hunted down by Jacob Hein, and Hein maybe have a move into turn 1 to go through the final turn reasonably well, stick in the slipstream and maybe get a bit of a tow, but unfortunately we'll have to stay put in P3 for now. 27 laps to go of round 4 here at Phoenix for the oNiD AC Indycar Championship. Karolzak, Pavo, Hein, Silver, Conti, Scott, Bees, Bennett, Neil, Wood, your top 10 as things stand. Oh, move in the background here for Bernard getting past Neil, and I think that's Ben Beams actually dropping a couple of positions there. So Beams loses that 2 or 3 positions there in the midfield, making a mistake. Conti fighting with Scott side by side through the final turn. Scott trying to make the move around the outside. Conti will have the inside line, but won't work as the momentum from Scott is able to make the move work. As we see Karolzak up in the lead. 3 seconds is now the gap between him and Pavo. Bennett coming back, or Conti actually coming at Bennett from position, should I say, as they now remain side by side through the first turn. Conti taking the high line, yielding the position in the background. Next car will be Neil, which is a bit further behind. There's Alfie Beaven in the middle of them, who's decided to go for a glitch through the circuit. And that was him back in the pits from bad to worse. There's obviously some form of glitch with the circuit on that corner. The drivers will be potentially up in arms about that, and will maybe raise that with race control after the race. But Jacob Hein still hunting down Pavo. Karolzak now 4 seconds ahead of this battle. Silver has had a spin. That's a massive spin for Zach Silver. He's in the middle of the circuit. We'll get going once more. Doesn't prompt a safety car. It doesn't. Safety car stays put. And will not be called out. Thankfully, I think Zach Silver only being involved in a one car incident, not causing any other cars to be collected, even though it looked like a pretty nasty crash, will stay, and safety car will stay put for now. As there's contact between P2 and P3, and that is Pavo up into the wall. And that does cause the safety car to come to the circuit. 20 laps to go. Okay, so we will now more than likely see people coming to make final pit stops. If they do wish to, 20 laps is well within reach for one set of tyres and one tank of fuel. What has been a very hectic race is turning out to be something of an unknown. We've seen multiple different leaders tonight along this race, with now going into the dying moments of the race. Anyone to play for, lapped cars will be able to unlap themselves once more, I'm sure, as race control will make that call in due course. Now, the race coming to its conclusion is at their discretion if they allow cars to unlap themselves. And indeed, I think they are now taken to the high side of the circuit. Oh, not quite actually, still in the middle of the circuit, and they may be waiting for everyone to catch back up once more. I think now they're being instructed to go to the high side, potentially? No, maybe not. Safety car stays dead smack bang in the middle of the circuit. We may not see people unlap themselves. That's Ben Beams actually coming to the pits along with Zach Silver in the background. And they will both stop for what will hopefully be their final pit stops. And indeed, the safety car and race control electing to send cars on the inside of the circuit and allow them to unlap themselves. The first of those being, I do believe, Alfie Beaven. And next will be Ben Asker. Then Kanoji. The rest of the cars are still on the same race in the lead lap, should I say. Asker not moving yet, to be perfectly honest. I thought he might have done. Maybe race control just waiting for Alfie to figure themselves out and get back to the back of the grid. Asker and Kanoji actually still a lap down. They may be prompted to move out of order in a second to unlap themselves. As the safety car actually pulls back to the middle of the circuit, so maybe only letting one car unlap themselves, with it being coming up to the end of the race. 17 laps to go. And the safety car still staying out. Never mind, it is now coming in. As Karolzak now leads the way for will hopefully be one of the last restarts of this evening. Cars line up in single file. It will be Karolzak to lead them away from Hind to Pavot, Scott, Bennett, Contu, Neil, Wood, Beam, still be your top 10. As we go green once more, Karolzak leads them away relatively well, gets a good gap between ahead of Jacob Hine in the background. Scott and Bennett fighting away for position. Scott almost always up the inside as Bennett always maybe pushing Scott to the most far left hand side of the circuit while still allowing car's width to run side by side. They are still side by side, a slight contact on the tyres. Nothing horrible. Scott might have the momentum to go around the outside. Maybe on the grippier tyre here than what Bennett is. That P1 tyre looking handy at later stages of this race. However, they're not holding off for now. That inside line helping him as Scott tries to go around the outside once more. Maybe we'll think going for a cutback, maybe into the inside. Stays gets back into the slipstream. Will stay tucked under the rear wing for now, but can't do anything going through turn one. Actually loses out to Bennett through that corner. Maybe get into the dirty air, and that's allowed Contu to try and make a move up the inside. They're going to start fighting again. Neil quite in the background as well, also wanting to trying to make inroads back up the order for P5 and P6 as Neil goes to the inside, but not gives him space. And that is moved done for Neil up to 6th position. We'll hunt down Scott for P5, but Scott, yeah, looking racy here and almost looking to get past Bennett for position. That gap's now enlarged to about 0.8 of a second. Sorry, 0.8 of a second between Bennett and Scott. A lead is about 0.7 second away. Pavot 2.1 seconds behind. It's been absolutely dropped by first and second. As we go down to the final 10 laps of this race. Silver has had a spin on the start-finish straight. We'll get going once more. There is a car coming. He'll stay put for a second. Safety car has remained in the pits. And thankfully, no late safety cars for this evening. We will await to see for the final 10 laps. We may actually get the call very shortly to say that the green flag will remain out for the rest of the race, and the safety car will not be needed for any or will take any further participation in this race. Anything that happens after will just be racing incident, nothing to cause a yellow flag or safety car period once more. But it is 0.4 of a second between the lead. 9 laps to go. Stand corrected, 8 laps to go, should I say. Is Hine 0.5 trying to close in on that P2 tyre, that P1 tyre. Karolzak though, maybe giving a bit of an advantage here, maybe being able to keep him ahead. Is Pavot, Bennett, Neil, Scott, Conti, Beans, Wood and Silver unchanged since the last time we checked in. But Time's looking mighty close. People trying to fight for positions at the dying moments of this race. Beans getting close to Conti, but not close enough to make a move. Equally, Conti close to Scott, who's dropped back from Neil for P5. Silver is round, however, and is at the bottom of the circuit, is able to get going again, but does call the safety car. With 6 laps to go. They're going to be wanting a quick restart here. Immediately, the safety car comes out, picks up the rest of the lead driver. Now, it might be a safety car up here just to calm the pack down, get everyone back to in order, single file. They may not allow cars to unlap, and as I said, that is at the discretion of race control. You have some cars in the pits, and just coming out of the pits as well. Beams entering, Beaver and Silver Whittle exiting the pits and rejoining the circuit. Beams also just coming in, as I said, but 5 laps to go. I'm hoping we won't see this end on the safety car, as we actually do, if we get a 1 or 2 maybe racing laps. Cars are taken to the high side, maybe allowing cars to unlap themselves. As Ben Myatt and Chris Overstreet providing race control this evening. Thank you very much to you both. As we see the dying moments, it's been a long race, as that is a car very cheekily almost getting quite close to the safety car whilst he was unlapping himself. And maybe wasn't prompted to do so, as the safety car does rejoin the middle of the circuit, and will probably pull in at the end of this lap once those cars rejoin the back of the safety car queue for the final 3 laps of this race. I believe all the cars are now queuing at the back of the grid, only waiting on Ben Asker and Kanoji's in there. He's stuck in the middle, but what has happened, safety car has now come back in. I would imagine that would be the final safety car period for us as we go racing with 4 laps to go. Hein Karolzak and Hein puts it into the wall. Oh no. That is race over for Hyde. He will go down to the back of the grid, but we will keep racing. I am reliably informed that we will not have any further safety cars for this race, if my thought process is correct. It's Carroll that leads the way, but Jacob Hine, our oNiD Indy 500 championship winner, spins it on the start-finish straight, on the restart. It's Carroll that leads the way from Pavo, Bennett, Neil, Scott, Conti, Beans, Wood, Silver, Beaven. Top 10, or top 11 actually, all still on the same lap. As we now go onto the penultimate lap, only 2 more laps to go. As Karolzak gets the lead nicely, 1.1 seconds. It is all up for grabs in the midfield. Ben Beams on the tail of Conti for 6th position. We'll keep an eye on that. Equally, Silver and Wood mighty close together. As Silver looks up the inside of Woods for 8th position. Onto the final lap we now go. It is Karolzak's race to lose at this point. It's all up for grabs in the midfield. We will keep an eye on that, as it looks like Karolzak going through the final turn now will be round 4. Race winner for the AC Indycar Championship. It will be Pavo, Bennett, Neil, Scott, Contu, Beam, Silver, Wood, Beaven, Hein, Denasker, Kanoji finishing. Already see the checkered flag a couple of laps down, and then after sees a checkered flag, and that is race done and dusted for round 4 of the oNiD SimHound Indycar Championship. Race winner Johan Karolzak will go. Oh, it doesn't go. Oh, it lets to put it into the pit wall in celebration. Of course, he does. I was hoping we actually might get some donuts from him, but obviously not. He wants to go out in a bit of a different way. All the cars now back into pits, and that is race done and dusted for round 4 after a good old 2 hours almost of race time. All of our drivers have defeated well, I say defeated, have conquered, have conquered one another actually in more ways than one. But yeah, the sole oval race for this championship is done and dusted. Unfortunately, Kankos, Finney and Negev, unfortunately, were not able to rejoin. We only had 13 classified finishers for that race, and we'll hopefully see those folks back for next week's race. We will be back live for next week. Hopefully myself and Ben Wyatt will be back in the comms booth for the next round of the AC Indycar Championship. We will be going to Vancouver street circuit from a bit of a classic circuit actually, from Vancouver 1998, historic street circuit for the IndyCar Championship. We will be quite interesting to see that, and that will be round 5 next week. Only 2 more races to go. Only 2 more weeks to go for this season. It'll be Vancouver and then final round at Road America, something a bit more familiar to the IndyCar Championship, where we will see these guys race away through the American circuit there as well. Canada and then to America, and that is season then done and dusted. However, we do have a full calendar of racing tomorrow. We will be live on Twitch for the oNiD Hound Academy, racing from Imola, an LMGT3 one class championship, live on Twitch. That will be Dave Wood bringing you all the action for that stream. And then we go to Thursday, our Super Formula Lights round 4, starting continuing at Montreal Circuit Gilles Villeneuve for a round 4 on a Thursday night. Friday night will be our only social. We do have a Friday social on LMU. Spaces are still open, and we will be going to Silverstone for the new downloadable content of LMU, along with the LMP3 cars. A 1 hour 5 minute race. Sign up still available. 1 LMP3 spot left, and a further 13 LMGT3 spots still available for that Friday social. And then Sunday we'll be back with our feature race on Sunday, the Weekender GT3 Championship. 1 make racing for the GT3 cars, LMGT3s, and Monday, starting week 4 next week, Monday will be the multi-class series, only SimHound multi-class series. Again, LMU, Hypercar LMGTE, and they'll be going to Monza Curva Grande circuit. That will be a race to watch as well. And then next week, of course, we'll be back for Vancouver Historic. Well, it's been a pleasure. My name's Aidan. Thank you so much for your viewership. It's been a pleasure watching these guys drive, albeit very safety car heavy for most of the race. But that's oval racing. That's what happens when you put Indy cars on a tight oval circuit like Phoenix. We'll be back next week for more AC Championships on Tuesday, with Ben Wyatt joining me back on the comments booth. But for now, it is Aidan signing off from oNiD. See you all very, very soon. And thank you very much for your company. It's been a pleasure. See you next. I will be next back on Thursday, but we'll see you live again tomorrow night for the oNiD SimHound Academy Championship on LMU. Thank you. Take care. Good night. Speak to you all and see you all very, very soon.